Church intro video. Church intro video. Church intro video. Bam.
Church intro video. Hello. How are you on this fine January 16th?
I'm good. It's been snowing again.
Really?
Yeah, it's like inch and a half. It's not a lot of snow, but it for the first like hour and a half it was snowing. It wasn't sticking at all because it wasn't cold enough on the ground.
Yeah.
Because it was raining all morning. But it did. We did get some. So that's interesting.
It snowed here yesterday. For 30 seconds. And then it stopped and didn't start again. So over the course of the last 13 months, we've gotten 30 seconds of snow.
Well, I mean, one of them things. Chicken wings. I said chicken wings.
It snowed not last year, but the year before. We got like half an inch. That was a couple of years ago. And then the only snow we've gotten since is, that I know of, is that 30 seconds of snow we got yesterday. And we saw it out the window and we were like, it's snowing! And then before we could even get all the kids' attention so they could go to the window and see it, it had stopped. Thanks, snow! It was like, you're gonna hate me. Now you see me? Snow you don't. I told you you were gonna hate me. The puns. He can't stand the puns.
I don't like puns.
No.
At all.
Mm-mm.
Not even a little.
He doesn't find them punerific. Puntastic. They don't make
in this
for him
relationship,
a pun
it's
time.
puntiful.
Puntiful. Is my camera pointed too far down?
No idea right now.
Oh, okay. It's kind of like it's cutting off the top of my hair. Oh, what happened? Oh, okay. I wasn't in the conversation for a second there.
Really?
Yeah.
Hello, Biggs. Minute and a half.
Biggs is here. Yeah, Biggs chimed in a minute before we went live.
Yes, he did. He said hello.
And said, hello. Mr. Groggy is on Discord, but he's playing Fortnite right now. He's probably recording himself playing Fortnite, so he can then push that later. Okay. So we're just enjoying the music.
Yep.
I kind of want to sing along to the music, but I can't hear the music. So if I like bust it out in song, I'd be like, just can't help falling in love with you. It totally wouldn't be at the right time because I can't hear the music. So I don't know what part of the music is going right now.
Nope, sure don't.
Can you hear the music?
Nope.
You can't hear the music either?
Nope. Don't have it set to come through my headphones, just have it set to play. 30 seconds.
And if I went to try to pull it up,
it would be off.
Monitor,
yep.
Yeah, it would be delayed. So.
Gran says he can hear the music.
Gran is here?
Grandpack appears to be here. Yes, he said something
Gran!
in the Alliance chat. Or not anymore.
Oh.
Or
Is he here or not?
he might mean the other. Oh no, I forgot to hit the button. There, we're live. Sorry, I was reading Grand's post in Alliance chat. We're live. Yay, we're
The
live. I'm not
music
even
ended and
sitting
you
right.
hadn't pushed the
I
button?
hadn't pushed the button. No, I did a boo-boo.
That's funny. Zadie's here on Twitch with us.
Yep.
All right. Hello and welcome to Season 3, Episode 62 of the Bree Manifesto. Faith, hope, and love for the modern Christian. I'm Pastor Bill, and I'm joined by Pastor Nooms, the
Hola.
ever wonderful bearded one who wears beanies or hats
'Cause I'm bald.
most of the time. I see you still have your
Your
Gotham's tree up back there, but it doesn't have any lights on it.
It's actually pre-lit, but we're not going
Oh.
to talk about it. We took the balls off.
That's what's different.
We're not talking about the
Well,
fact that my
it's in
Christmas tree is still up.
stages, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's part of me that's like, it's a black Christmas tree. Do I really take it down? Do I care to?
I don't know.
You know.
Do you?
I joked about in the past. I had a tall, skinny one that wasn't a real tree. It was one of those that just like circled down and looked all funny. I talked about leaving that one up all year round just because it was funny looking. But I didn't. And now we've lost it. It's somewhere in our garage, which is crazy because our garage is not that big.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how we lost it. Hello, Phoenix. On Discord from the couch, probably.
So if you're listening to this podcast and you're new to the Burrito Manifesto,
Yes.
we record live every Sunday evening at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, or at least that's the plan. You know, life sometimes throws you curveballs, and so sometimes we don't record. But when we release new episodes, they are recorded live ahead of time. Obviously, you can't record a podcast at the same time as it's going out. Otherwise, that would be a live show. It wouldn't be a recorded podcast. So we record this one, but we do it with a live audience, or we invite a live audience. We have some regulars that join us. Biggs, thank you for being here. Zadie, thank you for being here. Phoenix, thank you for being here. Perhaps Groggy will come in later. He comes in from time to time to say hello. And basically what we want to do is foster an environment where there can be interaction. You don't have to interact if you don't want to. You don't have to chime in and say anything. But if you wanted to, then you could catch this live on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook. Like I said, on Sunday nights when we go live. And then you can just participate in the chat, you know, with your little keyboard or on your phone and be a part of the conversation that's going on. Sometimes we get off of topic, but we've always got a topic. Like tonight's episode is called At the Well. And so we're going to try to stay on topic and steer into that as much as possible, but who knows?
Who knows?
Sometimes we go different directions. I don't know. You don't know. So, yeah. How was your week, Pastor News?
My week was pretty good. Work is real busy right now. It's a little crazy. Both my girls ended up sick this week, so that was fun. They were home for multiple days. We've got streaming we did throughout the week, streaming Borderlands, and we did, we're still at war in Star Trek. And so, you know, just a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So, how was your week?
My week was good. Yeah. I did some art for our streaming stuff.
You did, and it looks pretty.
Thank you. That was fun. It was good to get back into Photoshop and Illustrator and get some stuff done in there. And
now we just need to do it for here. Make our titles prettier and our stuff. Just saying.
Yeah. We can't use the same little characters, though, because yours is all like, ugh.
Yeah, like I don't normally look on every Sunday. Just saying.
Only
I almost
after
switched.
After I use a pun.
I almost switched just mine and didn't tell you.
Not that I wouldn't see it, because what you send me has your
You
title card
would,
on it.
but it would be funny because it would just be like, wait, did you change mine? No.
No.
Why? Because yours is the wrong size. Mine's the correct size. So
Nuh-uh.
yeah, it is. If
Oh,
we
yeah, it is,
yeah
because of...
yeah
Yeah.
we would only see part of the word pastor if
Yeah.
we used the same one.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
could just shrink it, but my name would be like twice your size,
Yeah.
even though our pictures are different. So, but yes.
All right. So, that was my week. My week was great. I don't really have anything else to share about my week.
Okay. Okay.
I did a
Okay.
couple of airport runs. That was fun.
Ooh.
I have a regular customer that calls me for Uber rides, and then my aunt was going out of town. So I did 2 airport runs this week, and then my wife had an airport run for my cousin on Friday evening. So, bunch of airport runs this week going on.
Lots of
Three's a
airport.
bunch, right?
Sure.
Sure. All right. Well,
More times than I
without
went to the
further
airport
ado,
this week.
it is time for getting to know the pastors, and this week it is a card from Pastor Nooms's pack that his wife and sister bought him at some event. I can't remember what event it was. Biggs on Twitch asks if it was Love Field or Dallas Fort Worth Airport, and all 3 trips were to Dallas Fort Worth Airport.
Well, that's sad.
Why is that sad?
Oh.
It's only like 20 minutes difference.
Oh.
And the Dallas one, you got to get into Dallas traffic, and
You really do.
ugh.
All right. You ready?
Or I should say the Love Field one. You have to get into Dallas traffic.
We're gonna end up pulling another card probably, but
Are-
maybe not. If you could hear a speech from any leading figure in any field, what would you choose to hear?
I've always wanted to, and you don't mean a recording of. You mean
Right, live.
be there,
Hear a speech.
live.
Yep.
Yeah, I've always wanted, and I feel like that card was destined to be pulled today. I've always wanted to attend the "I Have a Dream" speech, from Martin Luther King Jr.
Okay.
I've always wanted to attend it. I've heard the recording
Right.
multiple times.
Right.
And it always moves me with emotion.
Mhm.
Always, every time. It never loses any of its power.
Mhm.
And so I've always wanted to attend that live.
Okay.
So that was an easy one for me.
Yeah, it really was.
And the reason I feel like that was, destined is because tomorrow's the man's
Yes.
holiday.
Yeah, tomorrow is yeah. I don't I can't think of anything that's like I want to hear this speech. I've heard some speeches. I don't know. I can't think of anything that's pressing in my mind. There's probably some technical lectures I would really enjoy, but there's a couple of, like the tech ones that happen throughout the country and nations each year. I'd love to travel to a bunch of those and just hear experts that actually have passions for their games actually talk about developing them and stuff live as opposed to just recorded. But
So nothing like the Gettysburg Address or
mm-mm,
Sermon on the Mount
mm-mm.
or...
See, I took it to mean a living person, but
Oh,
it
really?
didn't specify that.
Oh, okay.
It didn't specify living or dead.
Mm-mm.
But
I can't think of one single person alive today that I would want to go listen to just talk.
I, I I can think of a couple of leaders in business and stuff that I would actually attend a lecture on. But my thing is I get the same enjoyment normally for the speech aspect in just watching it. I'm not a person who needs to be in person. I prefer everything to be.
I thought of one. Craig Rochelle retelling the story of the first time he gave a sermon in that United Methodist, I think it was, and they were wearing the robes and all that, all those details.
It's a good story.
That's a great story. If I could arrange to have him retell me that story face to face, I would want to do that. There you go, a living person.
So Gran sent me a private message in Star Trek, and he has a good one, which is Neil deGrasse Tyson on interstellar theory and the scope of the universe. And I could see that one. That's one of those technical ones that I really think I would enjoy, because it's always interesting to hear those people, especially ones like Neil deGrasse Tyson, who is so passionate and so well articulated. Because some scientists sadly are not.
I'm not a fan of Neil deGrasse Tyson, but only because you know how some people inexplicably irk you. Something about their mannerisms, something about their attitude. I don't know. He just doesn't. He kind of, I don't know. Something about him just is off-putting.
You're like that with a lot of people.
Am I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that's okay. I mean, you have your opinions. But there's a lot of like YouTubers.
Oh yeah.
You can't watch.
I mean, I'll just say it. Rev Deuce. I can't watch any of Rev Deuce's videos. Guy that makes content for Star Trek Fleet Command. I just can't watch them. I get like 30 seconds in and I'm like, I'm done. I can't even.
And a lot of my SCP videos and stuff, you're like, I can't listen to that person. I almost fell asleep. I don't like that person. That way that person speaks is terrible. You know, it's like, okay, no, I got you.
I finished watching The Expanse, right? So that 5 seasons. There's this one character I kept rooting for them to kill off because she intentionally speaks in this low gravelly voice. And every time she talks, all I can mentally process is, why that voice? Why is this character still alive? Why can't I get over her voice?
Yeah, it's there's just some people. I have a couple people I work with that are like that. But we won't name their names, of course.
In the church, in their church, because that would be me and your wife are the only people you work with in our church.
No.
You're like, I don't like your voice. I don't like my wife's voice. I don't want to be here.
There are some days your voice grates me, but it's usually because we've just gotten in an argument, not because of anything valid. We've gotten in one of our spats
and
about
we
semantics.
Man, we smat about the stupidest things.
It's the stupidest stuff. It's semantics. It's English language 90% of the time, because we both have a different position and we're trying to understand the other person's position, but we can't because there's some word one of us is hung up on. And then we get to the end and you're like, wait, did we just argue for 2 hours on a word?
Did we just uphold the exact same point of view and argue about it for 2 hours because we were stating it in different ways? So you don't disagree.
Grant says, hooray for network management protocols.
I don't know. I thought if I did that head shift thing that dogs do, I might understand what he's saying. What does that mean?
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm assuming it has something to do with network management protocols. So I'm assuming it's Gran thought I said SNMP. I don't know what I actually said.
SNMP,
which is
SCP.
network protocols. What?
You said SCP.
SCP is the is a fandom online of stories about what if all kinds of crazy things actually existed, and there's a non-governmental agency called the SCP Foundation, which is Secure, Contain, Protect. Um, and so there's all these short stories and all these that are, some of them are phenomenal and some of them are garbage because they're written on a wiki, and so it's open for people to write. And one of the rules is because the SCP deals with reality benders all the time, there is no canon. So the writers themselves take what canon they believe is true and write off that. And then when you're listening, you're like, and so there's these people that do these YouTube videos where they read the stories and then add extra details from other stories that involve those SC. And I fell in a hole for about 2 years where I was listening to like 3 hours of it a day. Um, it was a little crazy, I have to say. But I
And then
know a lot about it.
he was like, you should listen to some of these with me sometime. And I was like, okay. I drug you into the Star Trek world and made you watch some Star Trek, made you play Star. We're gonna try this SCP thing. It's not for me.
It's not for him.
I'm glad that Nooms enjoys it and that there's something out there that can captivate him that way. But it's definitely not for me.
I've thought about writing for it, and started writing one called The Invisible Sister, because I always forget my sister exists. And so it's an SCP of this person who everyone thinks is their little sister, but when they're not like actively paying attention, she disappears. But yet everyone else around them knows that, and they're like, "Wait, didn't you forget your sister?" And that's constantly a question that whoever she's currently attached to has to ask. And so it's kind of humorous.
So kind of the object permanence.
Yeah.
Silence.
There's
thing.
a couple of SCPs that have that mind altering reality, like I called them reality benders, pretty constant. But I think it's funny just because we were talking about it one time and everyone's like, "Why do you always forget your sister?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I love her. She lives here. Like,
she's just not real. She's an SCP.
I'll put 4 plates out and then like keep making dinner and people are like, don't you need 5 plates? Why?"
So your sister can eat too?
Because Phoenix might come down and eat. I don't know.
She don't get a plate. We're just gonna put our slop straight on the table.
Yeah, she can eat off the table. And then I make food for the dog, but then like don't put food out for her. Like, just
don't put food out for your sister.
Well, I mean like make her a plate or put her plate out, or that sounded terrible. Yeah. Wow.
It sounded horrible.
That's okay. This morning, Kaiju has learned a new thing. Kaiju has learned to alert me when she is not happy with her breakfast, and that she would like a breakfast additive, such as, an egg or some potatoes or, something that Daddy, me being me, would have to cook. She now goes to her food bowl. She looks at her food bowl. She looks at her dry container that's next to it. She puts her face on the dry container. She looks at the food, takes a bite, stares me in the eye while she chews her one bite, and just looks at me while she's eating. And I'm like, and then she'll get up and go sit in the kitchen. Just sit on, there's a rug for like washing plates, right? And that's where she sits when I'm cooking, because it's behind the stove, but it's close in case something falls off, but And so for breakfast, when I didn't cook, I had cereal. The girls had cereal. Kaiju had an egg. So she has me properly trained.
Wow.
She's so cute though. Her little puppy dog eyes.
All right, we got a commenter on YouTube, but I don't understand the comment. That's okay.
Vornago.
Welcome.
Not sure what that means.
Ingo. I don't know what that means either. Perhaps it's another language. Their name is clearly not English.
Yes.
Kind of looks like they just went on the keyboard when they put in their name. That's kind of cool. I would like a name that it looks like I just went on the keyboard. That'd be awesome. I'd be like, "What's your name?" All right. So this week the title was "At the Well." So if you're wanting to follow along in the Bible, we're gonna pull up this one story, and then we're gonna do some history stuff, and we're gonna talk about how things relate to us, and on and on and on. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to go to John chapter 4. John chapter 4. And then I'm going to start reading in verse... let's just start in verse 1, because it's good to have context of what's going on at the time. And we're going to read all the way through verse 26. And then we might talk about verses 27 through 38 here in a little bit, if we get to it. All right. When Jesus learned that the Pharisees had heard he was making and baptizing more disciples than John, though Jesus himself was not baptizing, but his disciples were, he left Judea and went again to Galilee. He had to travel through Samaria, so he came to a town of Samaria called Sychar, near the property that Jacob had given his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, worn out from his journey, sat down at the well. It was about noon. A woman of Samaria came to draw water. "Give me a drink," Jesus said to her, because his disciples had gone into town to buy food. "How is it that you, a Jew, ask for a drink from me, a Samaritan woman?" she asked him. "For Jews do not associate with Samaritans." Jesus answered, "If you knew the gift of God and who is saying to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would ask him, and he would give you living water." "Sir," said the woman, "you don't even have a bucket, and the well is deep. So where do you get this living water? You aren't greater than our father Jacob, are you? He gave us the well and drank from it himself, as did his sons and livestock." Jesus said, "Everyone who drinks from this water will get thirsty again. But whoever drinks from the water that I will give him will never get thirsty again. In fact, the water I give him will become a well of water, springing up in him for eternal life." "Sir," the woman said to him, "give me this water so that I won't get thirsty and come here to draw water." "Go, call your husband," he told her, "and come back here." "I don't have a husband," she answered. "You have correctly said, 'I don't have a husband,'" Jesus said. "For you've had 5 husbands, and the man you now have is not your husband. What you have said is true." "Sir," the woman replied, "I see that you are a prophet." I feel like that's like the blondest answer. Anyway, no offense to blondes, but you get the concept. "Our fathers worshipped on this mountain, but you Jews say that the place to worship is in Jerusalem." Jesus told her, "Believe me, woman, an hour is coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You Samaritans worship what you do not know. We worship what we do know, because salvation is from the Jews. But an hour is coming, and is now here, when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. Yes, the Father wants such people to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and in truth." The woman said to him, "I know that the Messiah is coming, who is called Christ. When he comes, he will explain everything to us." Jesus told her, "I, the one speaking to you, am he." All right. So we've got this dynamic between the Samaritans and the Jews. And you've got this issue where Jesus has to travel through Samaria for some reason to get from Judea to Galilee. And I say has to because there are two paths from Judea outside of Jerusalem, right? So if you look at it here, I'll put a map here for you. If you follow this part of my hand right here, this is the Jordan River, the river where Jesus was baptized. And over here you've got Judea and all the hill country of Judea with Jerusalem. And if you go up, then you've got Samaria is here. And then where he's going in Galilee is up here. Well, there's two paths there. You can go through Samaria, which is the quick path because there's a mountain range here, and then the river. It's you're basically bypassing the mountains, or you can go over the mountains to the other side of the Jordan River and up and then back again, which is a much longer trip, and a much more difficult trip. So he had to go through Samaria. Well, most Jews don't. Oh, yeah, Biggs on Twitch says, nice map. Most Jews wouldn't go through Samaria. They refused. And they would take the long path. And at one point in the book of Luke, Luke chapter 9, Jesus is actually traveling through Samaria and tries to enter a Samaritan town, and they wouldn't let him because his face looked too Jewish. Or rather, specifically it says, when they saw in his face that he was determined or likely... What was the exact wording? Come on.
Oh, nope.
And they did not receive him because his face was as though he would go to Jerusalem. So they're saying, you can't come in our town because you look like you're a Jew. We're not going to have any of that here. So the Samaritans didn't like the Jews for good reason. The Jews didn't like the Samaritans for an understandable reason. I'm not going to say it's a good reason because it's, in my opinion, not a good reason, but an understandable reason. So if we want to rewind time, and we go back to where, so Jerusalem was not Jerusalem. The people of Israel were two kingdoms, a northern kingdom and a southern kingdom. And those two kingdoms were then united when Samuel anointed Saul as king. Saul became the king. These two kingdoms were united. And then Saul loses the kingdom to David, and David becomes the new king. And there's still then one kingdom, loosely one kingdom. David did more to unite the two kingdoms than anyone else in all of their history. And so then Samuel dies. Well, when Samuel dies, then you start to get the insurrections and the issues that David faced with his own son trying to usurp him and on and on. So then they basically split into effectively two kingdoms again. They would still work together, fight wars together against outsiders, but they also fought wars against each other constantly. And so that's the problem that's going there. And then because they had taken on foreign gods and married foreign wives and on and on and on, the Bible says that God then handed them over to Assyria. So they go into captivity in Assyria. But there was a contingent of Jews who fled into the mountains where the Assyrians couldn't find them. And these people established on and around Mount... I had it pulled up. It's the mountain that the woman in the story we just read was talking about. It is Mount... And of course, I scrolled away from the name of the mountain.
Of course you did.
Gerizim. Or Gerizim.
My chair is acting up. Sorry I keep moving, guys.
On or around that mountain. Now, this mountain is where the Samaritans believe that Moses actually met with God. That's the mountain where they believe that Moses met with God. The Jews believe that Moses met with God on a different mountain. The Samaritans also believe it was on this mountain that God not only gave Moses the Ten Commandments, but the Samaritans believe that God wrote the first 5 books of the Bible himself and presented them to Moses when he gave him the 10 Commandments. Now, Biggs is saying Mount Sinai. That's where the Jews believe that God met with Moses and did all of this. The Samaritans believe it's a different mountain. They also believe that this mountain is the mountain where Abraham was instructed to sacrifice Isaac and then was stopped by the angel. And these are the reasons why the Samaritans believe that mountain is where God should be worshipped, because of these events that their historical records tell them happened there. And so this offshoot of people who weren't taken into Assyria, they are living up in the mountains. They're worshiping the same God, but they're also worshiping Asherah. They're continuing to have Asherah poles. They're continuing to have the gods of other kingdoms and other religions, and they've got this whole list of gods that they're worshiping. And so then when the Jewish people are not technically freed, but the king of Assyria plants groups of Jews into the territory where the Samaritans are now living, they integrate. And these weren't just Jews. They were Jews. They were Assyrians that Jews had married. They were the offspring of people that Jews and Assyrians. They were the friends and family, extended family of. So you've got not just Assyrians, but other people the Assyrians had taken, had conquered and taken in as well. This whole melting pot of people. And this whole melting pot of people thing is why when the Jews do then reestablish the southern kingdom in Jerusalem, they consider Samaritans to be mongrels or mixed breeds because they're not pure Jews anymore. And any of the Jews who had married Assyrians and so on, while they were in Assyria, were considered mongrels and mixed breeds as well, and were, sent off. So they've got the southern kingdom now, and then the Samaritans are making up the northern kingdom at this point, right? So we fast forward to, it becomes time in the book of, I want to say Ezra. Yeah, in the book of Ezra, it comes time where they're going to rebuild Jerusalem, and they're going to rebuild the temple. And by this time, the Samaritans that had stayed have given up Asherah. They've given up all the foreign gods. The only God that they're worshiping now is still the God of the Israelites. However, they have their own name for him, own nickname. Remember last time we talked about nicknames?
Uh-huh.
So the Sumerian nickname for God was Shemeh. Now, Shemeh is literally the word for the name. They literally nicknamed God the name. Okay. They were still at this point they were exclusively worshiping the name, which is their nickname for Yahweh. And they come and they ask, well, we're worshiping the same God you are. We're making sacrifices to God on the mountain. We would like to help build the temple, and then we can all worship God together. And the team that's in charge of building the temple says, no, you can't be a part of what we're doing. We're doing it. The king of Assyria gave us leave to come do this. And this is our work. We're rebuilding Jerusalem and the temple. You're not allowed to help us. And sent them away. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So This is why Samaritans don't like the Jews. That one moment in history has led to hundreds of years of Samaritans not liking Jews. Now today, as of right now, there are about 1,000, less than 1,000 Samaritans left. Most of them hold dual citizenship, Jewish and Palestinian. And the ones that don't are full Jewish citizenship. The ones that hold dual citizen aren't required to serve in the Jewish military when they turn 18, but the ones that only have Jewish citizenship are required, and they basically all live in this one neighborhood on the outskirts of Israel, right there. Anyway, so yeah, so there's that. So this is the history that they have with each other. So we fast forward to where in Jesus' time, the Jews see the Samaritans as the descendants of mongrels, worse than Gentiles, because they're the descendants of people who had access to God and then mixed with people who didn't and created these offspring. And the Samaritans don't like the Jews because the Samaritans are going, well, we've got the word of God. We worship the same God. We love God. We want to be together. And you just told us to go off back in the mountains and keep being mongrels.
Yep.
Right? So that's where we are. So Jesus, he plays on this hatred to prove a point when he tells the story of the Good Samaritan. And the Pharisees actually use the term Samaritan as an insult and describe Jesus as a Samaritan or demon-possessed man. That's actually how they described Jesus as an insult, was to call him a Samaritan. So we've got some serious issues going on, right? But both groups want to worship God. And Jesus says, well, the day's coming where it won't matter on the mountain or in the temple or by the tree or at the well or anywhere else, because you'll worship in spirit and in truth. See, that there's this whole thing going on here in John 4, beyond the idea of living water to where you'll thirst no more. That means something different then than it means now. Now, when you're thirsty, it means you want some physical intimacy and you're scrolling online to try to find some substitute for it because you're thirsty. Then it meant something completely different. Liquid was equated to spiritual life. If you were dry and parched spiritually, then you were thirsty. And Jesus is using this well as this example of, well, I bring living water so that spiritually you won't be empty and dry and longing and thirsty anymore. Right? But there's more going on here. There's this thing where Jesus is going, there's this time when you're all going to be one. And it won't matter what that label is anymore of Samaritan or Jew, Gentile, Baptist, Methodist, Protestant, Evangelical, Catholic, on and on and on. I can't list all of them. Lutheran, Methodist. Can't list all these labels that we've tried to use to create separations in the church. Right? The only issue that makes you not a part of the church is if you deny that Jesus came and died on the cross and was raised again. That's it. If you believe that three-part statement, came, died, rose again, then we're the same group. We're the same. Should be no barriers between us. And that's what I wanted to highlight from this story of At the Well. Is because when we put our faith in Christ, we all receive that wellspring of living water in our hearts. And it's all the same wellspring, and it's all fed from the same waters. We all have that same wellspring in our hearts. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Pastor Noon?
No, I will agree. I think that that's a very important part of the story that often gets gleamed over just because, there's the whole, well, Jesus went out of his way to show the Samaritans that they were part of this too. This, there's this part of the story, that part of the story, Oh, look, Jesus knows everything just by looking at someone. There's all these different parts of the story that a lot of people spend a lot of time highlighting and skipping over the part where Jesus is basically like, can y'all stop squabbling like children? Like, this
Yeah.
isn't what matters. Very soon, none of this will matter as far as who and where, because everyone can worship anywhere. And I think that's also a very important part of that, because so often you have a mindset that some people have that worship is only in a church building. Um,
Mm.
not everyone. I'm not trying to say, not a specific
No.
denomination, not a specific type of person, but there are people who believe that. And those
Like
people
cursing. I don't curse
sometimes,
inside a church.
yeah, don't wear a cowboy
What
hat inside a
what
church.
difference does it make that it's that four walls instead of this four
Yeah,
walls?
you shouldn't live different, but another aspect of that is that those types of people that are like, oh, well, I'm at church, so I'm going to worship.
Mm.
And then the rest of the week rolls around and there is no worship in their hearts. There is no prayer and thanksgiving. There is no, it's just, I work. I do my stuff. I am who I am. You know, they ignore God all week because they can only pay attention to God in the house. And it's
Yeah.
like, that's not the Holy Spirit in us as that wellspring. Doesn't, everywhere we go, every time we talk, every time it's all that. It's all influenced by it. It's, I find it interesting often. uh there's a difference between like a Christian author and an author who is Christian, and a Christian artist and an artist who is Christian. And oftentimes, even if you're writing in the secular, um, if you are a Christian who is actively accessing the Holy Spirit, you can't hide certain aspects.
Yeah.
There are certain
That's why
stories
when
that
you
have been
listen to
told.
that's why when you listen to Switchfoot songs, you hear,
Yeah,
even though they are technically a secular band,
yeah,
you hear it come through. You listen to Lifehouse,
yeah.
you hear their faith come through.
And even bands where, you look at bands like Korn, where
Mm.
several of their members became Christian, but they continue the same style of music in the same way, but the music takes a drastic shift, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's because they got sober. Oh, it's because of this. Oh, it's because of that." And it's like, well, yes, all of those, and and so it's interesting to watch.
And you're going to tell me them altar calls there at the end of the Korn concert, that's because of
Yeah, it is. It's just because they got
sober
sober.
as well?
Yeah,
That's because they got sober? Oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I got you. I got
yeah, yeah. But it's always interesting to see, there are people who you cannot, and then we have the opposite. We have the people who claim to be Christians, and they win an award and thank God, and yet you look at them and you're like, mm-mm,
you.
mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
There's
Mm-mm.
no fruit. There's no fruit. That's a dead tree. If that is a
There
tree, that's a
there
dead
is no
tree.
light shining forth
No.
here. This is
Um,
not
there,
uh,
but in that, you know, it it sometimes feels like a placation. But
mm.
you see some of those people down the road make their realizations.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting to watch some of those kinds of things. But what's important is not where we are or whom we are or in what way we do it. It's the problem is that spirit and truth. That's that big important part of worship and of following is the spirit and truth, not necessarily all the extra stuff that we often, as we mentioned in the beginning, there are times that we will argue. There are times that we disagree on little things because we believe, and the reason why we typically get to that point is trying to defend the truth that we believe in. And that's something as a Berean lifestyle, like we talk about so often, of searching for the truth in the Bible, in historical documents, in, you know, not taking something someone says, even if I say it, Bill says it, you know, your mama across the street says it, 14 people told you one time that your cousin said it. You know, it doesn't matter who said it. We should always be searching for the actual truth in that. Did you like
It's
your...
the main thing. Is prove it.
You liked the 14 people telling me that your cousin said it?
Yeah,
Did
I
you like that?
That was
Okay.
nice.
Okay. Just because it comes across your Facebook feed, your TikTok, your Instagram, your YouTube does not mean it's truth. I don't actually, like, for me, for example, I don't actually believe the SCP Foundation is real because they wouldn't call it that and then make a series. But there are people who are like, see, they wrote about it, and since they wrote about it, that's because it's true. Plausible deniability.
Deniability.
That's why they wrote it. They wouldn't have wrote it if it isn't true. And you're looking at the person going, are you okay?
They actually did run plausible deniability programs in the 80s and 90s with TV shows.
Oh, they still do.
And
that's not my point.
well, I mean, not as much as they used to, but it set off such a firestorm in conspiracy theory circles that they were like, we made it worse. We made it so much worse. We made it so much worse.
Yeah. I mean, there are things that are, you know, crazy that are out there, but, you know, we deal with it, we move on. But I'm just saying we have to search for the truth. Now, I'm not trying to say don't believe anything you read, because things that are published and peer-reviewed multiple times by whole separate groups can be trusted to certain degrees. Again, just because someone else on Facebook says something isn't true doesn't mean it is. But that's my
so
soapbox.
like with the doom and the doom and gloom over the last few years. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna get sick and suffer and die, and it's gonna be horrible. And okay, I'm not gonna dispute the facts of what you're saying. There are diseases. People are gonna get infected. It's gonna happen. But what I am gonna say is, you're telling me that's important, and I'm telling you that the hope and promise that I see here is what's important. So that's my truth in that doom and gloom moment is, you're telling me the sky's falling down, and this book tells me that sky is only my temporary roof for now. I got bigger things to worry about.
Yeah. And that does say the sky will fall at a certain point. But that doesn't mean we should worry about it.
More like the sky will rip open like a scroll.
Yeah.
Like a scroll that's been pulled too tightly.
And wormwood falling from the sky and, you know, all kinds of fun stuff. But that's beside the point.
Oh, yeah.
The point is, the whole point of it talking about things like that is to show us that's not the true end. That is the end of this realm. And so, yeah, it's going to happen. But,
bad things are always going to happen.
Yeah.
But I have hope.
Yeah.
I have faith.
I have love.
There's things that are more important to me.
Get it? Faith, hope, love.
Yeah, faith, hope, and love. Brain Manifesto. Faith, hope, and love for the modern Christian.
Sorry. Couldn't help it.
You did it. You did it.
I know. I apologize to all the viewers.
You brought it right out of me.
I did. I'm sorry.
So did you learn anything about the Samaritans tonight, Pastor Nooms?
No.
No? You knew about Mount Gershom?
The only thing I didn't know, I guess I did learn one thing, I did not know they all currently live in one neighborhood. I knew there was one area, but I thought it was more than 1,000 people left. So that I didn't know. But yes.
All right. So here's another thing that I can tell you about the Samaritans. So there was a time when Itamar? Yes. Itamar was a priest who was a descendant of Aaron in the Levitical line. And there was another priest named Eli. And Eli didn't think he was getting enough kickback from the offerings and tithe that the people were bringing to the temple. So he left and went into the mountains and built a temple for the Samaritans where they could worship God.
Okay.
And that went great for Eli for a while until the Samaritans got wise to why and what he was doing. And then they ran him out of town. And then nobody knows what happened to him after that. But they got a temple out of it on the mountain.
Well, yeah.
That temple that she was talking about worshiping God in. That's
right.
That's that temple. Built by the evil priest Eli, and then used by God to draw those people back towards himself. Because that's what God does.
Yep. Everything
constantly throughout history, we see it. And you can call God by any name you want to call him, but when it's the same profile and the same mercy and the same and the same and the same, and you can see it and you go, well, that's clearly the same God with different names reaching out to different people. That is the supreme God reaching out to different people. Now, the reason that Jesus came as a Jew was onefold. There's one reason. And that was because when God found no one faithful on the earth, Abraham heard a whisper in the wilderness and had faith that it was real. And it turned out to be the voice of God. And that's it. That's the only reason. Because one man was trying to have faith when everyone else in the world had given up on faith. No other reason.
Yep.
So there you go. That's what I have for tonight. The story of At the Well. I believe the most important part there is, as believers, we are the church. One body. And a body has different parts. We have a mouth and eyes and ears and hands and feet. And we serve different purposes and we reach different people in different ways. We are one body. Why are you smirking over there?
Sorry, I'm a bad person, and the only thing I could think of was the fact that two groups of people that we have recently been talking about a lot are two arms of the same body, and it made me chuckle, and I was trying to keep it to myself, but obviously my face couldn't. But sorry.
That's a Star Trek reference.
It is a Star Trek reference.
The Star Trek game that we play.
Yes. Anyway, sorry.
All right. Well, we're an hour in, and that's usually, well, we're, at the 59th minute, not quite an hour yet, but I don't think anyone online has any questions. Nobody's typed in any questions. So who's hitting themselves?
Yeah, why are we hitting ourselves?
What are you talking about?
I'm confused. Biggs, what are you talking about? I'm not hitting myself.
All right, well, that's all we have for tonight. I love you guys, and I hope you have a great week.
Be safe out there. Love you guys.
And until next time.
Now, for our people that are live, we have to do a 30-second buffer for some of our streaming services. So this is the part where we sing a little jingle, and here we go.
30-second buffer. 30-second buffer. 30-second buffer. Has it been 30 seconds yet? No, that's not how time works.
30-second buffer. 30-second buffer. 30-second buffer.
That's good enough.
All right, love you guys. Bye.
You guys have